So, going into Season 3 of Power Book 2 Ghost, there's going to be a lot of changes from Tariq's relationships with Brayden and Effie, and the fallout from Lauren's death, the whole situation with Zeke's death, and Lorenzo being the one who killed Zeke, Brayden working at his dad's hedge fund, and Effie moving to Stansfield, and no doubt there will have to be a new connect. So where they close some storylines, chapters, and characters, this opens the door for new plots, characters, to enter the frame in the world of Power Book 2 Ghost. So in this video, we're going to run through some new players that have been announced for Season 3, with Lucas, Kiki, RSJ, Obi, and Noma, but also how this will impact Tariq and his relationships with everybody around him. But let's start with Courtney Kemp teasing what we can expect for next season, and she said, for next season what I would tease is, there will be fault lines drawn between Tariq and his friends, for various reasons, and those will affect some of his fault lines that will be drawn within the Tejada family. There will also be a series of earthquakes and a series of aftershocks that will shake the foundation and remake the series in a really sort of impactful ways. That's Season 3. Now, she also teased how Blanca Rodriguez is going to be on the case of Mecca's death, because she was his informant, and of course we saw Blanca Rodriguez finding a picture of Tariq, so there's that as well. But starting with the fault lines with his friends, there's going to be a completely new look in Season 3 with Tariq at Stansfield, because for 2 seasons we've been used to seeing Tariq and Brayden at Stansfield being roommates, but Brayden is no longer at Stansfield, and Course Correct is completely burned. And that's because of Brayden admitting in open court that he was the one behind Course Correct while he had immunity, so his dad pulled him out of college and he's going to be working at his hedge fund instead. And this is where we're most likely going to be introduced to Lucas Weston, who's an adventure-seeking, left-leaning, high-level executive at his family's Wall Street firm. And then there's also Kiki Travis, who's a young VP at a Wall Street firm. She's Ivy League educated, doesn't come from privilege, but is making her own way in the world of business elite. And from the standpoint of Course Correct now being banned, and Brayden moving across to Wall Street, it does look like Tariq could find himself involved in the real world of business at some point. And maybe this is how they could move their drugs, selling to business elite, and potentially a way for Tariq to clean his money as well, because he will need a new way to do this as well. So with Course Correct now dead, I do think we're going to see a shift in focus away from Stansfield when it comes to Tariq's business and game. But we definitely will still see the classroom scenes, because there will be a new professor in Season 3, who's Professor Harper Bonnet, played by Keisha Sharp. And as always, the classroom scenes do set the theme for plots and storylines. But elsewhere, I really wouldn't be surprised if Tariq finds a new love interest in Kiki or someone else when he starts to enter the real world of business, and when he starts to learn some truth behind Effie's involvement in Lauren's death. So let's have a look at these fault lines that go even deeper, because at the end of Season 2, Brayden was tasked to take Lauren out of the city, making sure that she made it out safe. But from the other side, he was tasked by Kane to kill Lauren, because he hates snitches. But Brayden wasn't ready to kill, not Lauren anyway. So Effie dealt with Lauren off screen and made it look like a car accident, because she gets the game and she knows you can't have any loose ends lying around. And she is right, because we also have Maria Suarez came back to haunt Ghost, so Effie was doing what needed to be done. But Effie killing Lauren surely is going to cause a huge divide and split between Effie, Tariq, and Brayden at some point in Season 3, when and if he does find out the truth, because I really don't think Tariq is stupid enough to believe that Lauren died in a car crash. And then there's also the fact that he put his trust in Brayden to get the job done, as well as Effie, who killed Lauren behind his back. So this is where the fault lines come in when it comes to his friends, and he can add Lauren to his guilty conscience of all the people that have died, which he has had some sort of role in. But sticking with Tariq, he really did have to become his own man in Season 2, where we saw him looking after his sister, as well as moving weight and work for the Tejadas, while he had all these other issues surrounding Jabari's death and the court case, and in essence, going through similar situations which Ghost went through. And I do think him going to jail was a big turning point, and him realizing that he can't go down the same path Ghost did, because he'll either end up dead or in jail for good. So over the course of the season, we saw a slight shift in Tariq's mentality and mindset, with him realizing he needs to find a way out of the game, and his guilty conscience and Grandma Estelle telling him that he's the one who destroyed his family would definitely have played a part in Tariq's shift in mentality and trying to have a backup plan. Now, that way out of the game was Mecca and 2 million, but Monet killing Mecca just before Tariq could get his hands on the money, which I do think was on purpose, by the way, because I think she wanted to keep a stranglehold on Tariq, because she knows that he's the smartest kid that she's got, and she really can't trust any of her kids, apart from Tariq, who opened her eyes to what Drew, Diana, and Kane were doing behind her back. So for the time being, it does seem like Tariq will enter Season 3 working with the Tejadas, but I do think we're going to continue to see him try and find a way out of the game. But these fault lines will also come across to the Tejada family, and that's because Diana blowing up the Tejada secrets at the dinner table, to Lorenzo killing Zeke, and Drew not dealing with Ev. So the Tejada family have a lot of issues within, and I do sense a huge power struggle because we all know how Monet likes having control, but so does Lorenzo. And then there's Cade, who's back in the mix, and he's never happy playing second fiddle to Drew. And then there's also Diana, who's trying to make moves of her own. So it definitely is geared up for a big death in the Tejada household in my opinion, and I think that's going to be Lorenzo. Because it does make sense for Drew to take his place as the head of the Tejada organization and continue this dark turn that we saw play out from the second half of last season. But on the Kane and Tariq relationship, it really will be interesting to see how Kane looks at Tariq now, especially after he found out that he killed his own father. So the dynamic between Kane and Tariq will definitely be interesting to watch in season 3. But coming away from the Tejadas, they also announced 3 new characters, and the first was Ron Samuel Jenkins, aka RSJ, who's at Howard University and a Harvard School alumni who grew up working class but also built his legit empire that has firmly entrenched him among the business elite. So RSJ is someone who's among the business elite, and no doubt at some point I think he's going to cross paths with Brayden, who's working at his dad's hedge fund, and maybe Tariq too, but him having a legit business, let's see how long it stays legit, because this is the world of power. But next we have Obi, who's a young man schooled in Britain, who knows a way around a gun, but he's also comfortable in a boardroom, and this is something we start to see on Power Book 4 Force with Claudia Flynn, because she's someone who's comfortable in a boardroom, but she's also shown us she can pull the trigger. And finally, we've got Noma, who's a worldly and powerful woman with a regal presence who's built her wealth with an illicit global empire and is not afraid to protect it by any means necessary. So again, someone who seems like she'll do whatever it takes to protect what's hers. And these 3 characters who are coming in show how season 3 will shift some of its focus to the real world of business, and it really is going to be interesting to see how Tariq tackles the real world. Because as we're watching him go through everything Ghost went through, it doesn't mean that he needs to go into the nightclubs. It could be a completely different business. So let's see how this all ties in with Tariq and how he now balances his life, because he will have more trouble heading his way in the form of Blanca Rodriguez. But drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section on all the latest news on Power Book 2 Ghost, and drop all your predictions down for next season based on the storylines and the new character descriptions. So drop all your thoughts down below, and of course if you're new to the channel and you haven't done so already, then remember to smash the subscribe button if you want to see everything Power Book 2 Ghost and Power Universe related. But as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.